When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday night with myself, the foe, Cody Defoe, and my great co host here, the natural Aster
I got
Pizarro,
it.
for another episode of Making an Impact. How are you doing tonight, Aster?
Yay. It was a very long and exhausting day, but Impact made it worth it when I was watching it. How are you today?
I echo those statements. It was a long and exhausting day, but Impact was excellent and made the night much better than the day went. It was a great show tonight. Excited to get into it and go over it with everybody here. Just pop into the comments there. Say hi to everybody that's joining us for the show tonight. Um,
Thank you, Eric.
the the Omen, I suppose, and our great friend Mel joining us as well. What do you think, Astrid? Should we just
Thank you,
dive
Mel.
right into it?
Yeah, this was one that I really can't wait to talk about everything that happens in it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it was a lot of great build. It was a lot of great starts. I know last week we talked kind of we were excited to see where things went, and I don't think they let us down.
No.
Um, we opened the show with your best friend and your favorite person on the show, Bully Ray, comes out and cut a pretty solid promo. The crowd was really heavily against him. A pretty solid negative reaction for the actions from Bound for Glory, and the first kind of crowd that got to see him live after this. Really, just giving him the business. He came out though, and uh, I can't fault him or disagree with what he was saying about the fact of I don't know why you're booing me. I did exactly what I said I was going to do.
Hmm.
Uh, before we go into that, just say hi here to
Yeah.
Barry as well, popping in. Um, you know what? I think they were a little lesser known, Barry. We'll have to check out tomorrow night what's happening there. Maybe keep digging. Maybe you'll find something eventually.
Yeah.
Bully Ray's promo, though. Astrid, what did you think of it?
I'm gonna shock you. Are you ready? You're sitting down. Good. Um, I like the promo a lot. This is the first time I get
Oh,
to say this. Just take it easy though. Yeah, I was just waking up, so I was like half delirious at this point. But I was so tuned in. I was trying not to get up from my pillow in my bed. Yes, Mel. Something tells me I should like be like I yeah, Bully, like Cody was saying, is like my best friend. I love everything he does.
we
Yeah.
need to get her one of the
Um.
5150 hardcore jerseys that he wears.
Oh my God, no. Um, but no, just like as I was watching it, I couldn't stop watching it. And I love how like everything he said. And I even wrote down what I caught from the moment that I remember as well, because I was on my phone. But it just like I like how he goes through a list and mentions times that he betrays people and like the things he's done in Impact. Like, oh, he's like, oh, I put Dixie through a table. I ran off Hogan from Impact. I was surprised that was mentioned. He's like, I screwed Brooke as well, which I was waiting for that to be mentioned because I was there for that wedding as well. I will never forget it. He's like, I'm the one that stopped Sting from challenging for the world title. And I love the part, like you mentioned, more than anything, where he goes, I didn't lie though. I said I was gonna call my shot, call Josh out after, his match and, tell him it's my time to go. So it's like, so I didn't lie about this. So like the way he said it and the crowd booing him, and I think he called them like Kentucky Fried Idiots or something like that. It was
Yeah,
along those words. So I
Kentucky
definitely
Fried
caught
Idiot.
on to that too. Um, but then he talks about Josh taking time off because of the trauma. And he's like, well, you had Jade at ringside. Like, you knew better than to have her at ringside. And I was like, holy crap.
I agreed
I
with that
definitely could have stopped
completely.
watching.
When
Like,
when he's there saying, I did everything that I was gonna say. I shook your hand. I
mhm,
said I was coming for
yeah,
you. It's your own fault. After everything that I've done, it's your own fault for bringing your wife to ringside. You
yeah.
should have known better than to bring your wife into the building with me around. And
Hmm.
so, like, he made a pretty solid point there that he has a history and a track record, and everybody tried to warn him, but we were also
Hmm.
focused on the fact they were just warning him about Bully stabbing him back in the back about the Collier shot. We didn't think about the fact that he would go and be completely dirty and dastardly, but still stay true to the words he spoke. Just the words he wasn't speaking were the ones that you should have been looking for.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking as this was happening. And when he said it, I was like, holy guacamole, I can't believe he said everything he said. But it's just like he said, it's like, I told you the truth. I was going for this and it happened. So it's like, and I like how he says, do you know who I am? You should have known. People warned you. Like a lot of people warned you through the whole time who the kind of person that I am, and you still trusted me enough for this to happen and for this to happen to your family. So it's like in a way still blaming Josh for everything that happened, knowing that he should know who Bully Ray is and his track record at this point. And how many times did he get warned aside from also by so many people? So it's like, it's your own fault for not listening to everything they said. So just I was definitely stuck to my phone when this problem was happening, trying to write down what I could because I loved the points that he brought up when he did. So yes, you can clip this for later. I love the Bully Ray promo. That's the only time I'll say this. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, both Mel and Barry in the comments here, though, and I echo this. Like my notes here, kind of had something along the same lines of what they're saying. You can appreciate a quality promo and still dislike the guy. Bully is something that Impact has been missing. Someone good on the mic who can enliven the crowd. I think Moose was getting there, especially when he was the champion. Moose was getting this kind of reaction a lot of the time. But what I took down is just Bully can absolutely talk the talk. He owned every minute of this. Everything he's done up to this point built to this moment, and he was careful in what he was saying, careful in what he was doing, that he stayed true to everything he said, made sure he didn't say anything he didn't follow through on. But I think the build to this match is going to be really fun. Just seeing from this point and going forward, what we got at Bound for Glory and now kind of the start of the actual feud. We've got a good 5 weeks, I think, left now before we actually get to this match, that it's going to be a fun build and a fun feud, even if the match itself maybe can't quite live up to what the feud has going into it. I think the feud is and the story and the fact that Josh and Bully can both tell a story in the ring. You don't have to have your high spots and your crazy spots and your exciting action in order to have a solid story being told.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, like Cody and I chat when this is airing because we're watching it technically at the same time. And I didn't tell him how I felt during this because I wanted to see his reaction when I said this on there. I think he also mentioned, I forgot to write that down. He said that Josh reminded him of Kurt Angle in the way he was as well. So I thought it was interesting that he pointed out too. But yeah, from beginning to, and I think I missed a little bit of the beginning because I tuned in a little bit late, like 2-3 minutes late. But other than that, I love the promo from beginning to end, the way he said it, the way he delivered it. And then having Scott D'Amore come in later on after everything that happened. And just like, I feel like it was so well done in the way they started it with the promo and then going to the Swann match and then the ending as well. I loved it.
Yeah, he said
go to that now.
he said that Kurt or Josh reminded him of Kurt Angle in his prime, and he said, I don't have a problem with Josh. I think Josh is a great wrestler and a great champion. There was nothing about that. He's not a smart champion. That's what it was. He's not a smart champion. If he was smart, he wouldn't have brought Jade to the building.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you mentioned, so at the end of the promo here, we had Rich Swann. You kind of briefly saw him in the background behind Bully that he was running down, and he slid in and kind of blindsided and attacked Bully early, brawled a little bit, and a ref comes down and joins Bully on the ramp, signifying that this match is going to start when we come back from the commercial break. Oh, excuse me. The match itself was kind of a slow match, a shorter match. I know with Bully and Dreamer lately, we've been talking a lot about kind of their ability to tell the stories without having to have kind of faster matches. This one didn't really have the story behind it. There was a little bit, I think Tom and Matt tried to make it as much of a commentary match as possible by building the story for us. But it really just came down to the DQ finish. Bully just grabbed the chain that he had draped over the corner post, basically clotheslined Rich with it, and ended the match early, saves either one of them from taking a pinfall loss after Rich just won the 6-way at Bound for Glory, and Bully obviously on his way to calling his shot. And then, as Barry says, we ended up with some post-match shenanigans. You have Bully beating Rich with the chair, zip ties him to the ropes, same way he did to Josh at Overdrive. And Tommy Dreamer comes down to try and make the save and interrupt. You get Dreamer and Bully yelling at each other in the ring. Bully attacks Tommy, and then Scott D'Amore comes out and tries to run in and separate the two of them, threatening Bully. He rips the trophy in half and like throws it at him. You have Scott falling out of the ring and stumbling around and throwing his jacket and just trying to get to Bully, and Dreamer holding him back, and then Dreamer getting in the way when Bully tries to attack Rich. And it was just a whole cluster of shenanigans out there that it adds to the story. It feels mostly genuine. Scott is like a bumbling idiot almost in this case, and Bully's really making him out to be that way at the end, where he grabbed the mic and says, "Just remember, Scott, I may be a POS, but you're the one who hired me."
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. This from beginning to end, it was pretty, like the way they structured it was pretty well done. I feel like I even forgot there was a match because it just went by so quickly with everything, and then the ending itself, like the ending was more memorable. So I forgot there was a match that happened beforehand. But it just, the way Scott D'Amore comes in, throwing everything at him, throwing the trophy on the floor, and just screaming at him is like, it's, if you think about it this way, it's like, he done that everything to Josh, and then now to Rich Swann. So it's just like, it's incredible to see his reactions, like, you're a piece of crap. But when the way he just points at him, he's like, you hired me though. It's like, and that's another thing when you think about it from that standpoint. It just, even though everybody told Josh beforehand and warned him, Scott D'Amore should have known. I mean, Bully Ray has been in Impact before. What has he done? If you haven't, you could go to Impact Plus and watch it all if you missed it, Scott. But you should have known by now who you hired to begin with. But I think it's pretty interesting also having somebody like Scott still defend his world champion and and go and stand by Josh's side in this way and supporting him by going after Bully the way he did. And even Tommy is like, "Hey, I stuck up for you and this is what you're doing." And it's like, "Tommy, you've known him for how long now? You said you knew him for what, 20 years, more than that by now? You should have known too." It's like, what happened to everybody? They got amnesia of a sudden with Bully Ray? You guys should have known how he is, so this is nothing like unexpected for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, from beginning to end, everything here, the way that they did it, I loved it.
So something we haven't discussed yet, and I want to bring up and mention because it matters. This is the first Impact since the new deal that Impact just signed. If you hadn't heard yet, Impact has signed that they are broadcasting on DAZN. This is the first segment on the first show on Impact on DAZN. Do you think this is something to kick off that first show that will draw eyes to the product?
I feel like it's based on tonight's episode for sure, because I feel like this episode was. I know last week we got like little things here and there because of Thanksgiving, so it wasn't it for me. But I feel like this one was definitely like one because I feel like we got more answers to the questions that we had last week. We getting that role built up to Hard to Kill, so I feel like there's more structure to it, which is what I was hoping for. The only thing that I'm noticing is like they've been losing more people that they're gaining so far, because even though they had a lot of people leave, we had the Kingdom that just left. A lot of people from I don't know more left. Like as a whole, they broke up, and then having EY tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But just like people living here and there, they only gain Con, Angels. Tasha just resigned, and Jay that got signed as well. Jay Vidal, and just like we have people here and there. But I feel like they've been losing more people than gaining them, and I feel like they need to work on gaining people at the moment just to give the show a little bit more, more people and more of a diverse, I guess if you want to say it like that, but to give people more options when it comes to the talent, because I feel like they're lacking on that at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this show was a solid start for them, and hopefully will draw eyes and draw viewers. And I think you're right that we do need to start seeing them bringing some more people in and some more contracts being signed, and kind of, I don't even care if it's bigger names. I think we've got kind of the top stars on the show right now, but we've got the smaller guys coming in too. The Shiras, the Gujars, the Joe Hendrys, the Savannah Evans, the Giselle Shaws, the Jay Vidals. We've got these lesser known elements coming that I would like to see a little bit more of an influx. That if Impact is going to kind of be this role of the company that's willing to work with every other company and take and give wherever fit. I would like to see a little bit more start popping up. And
Mm-hmm.
Barry's right too, because the NJPW wrestlers, so NJPW has their shows going on. They've got lots of different stuff happening. They've got Strong happening. They've got tournaments on like on the main continent over in Japan going on. We've got Ace Austin and Chris Bay that are Impact regulars and Impact stars representing Impact in New Japan right now. So lots of pieces missing as well that you'd like to see a little bit more of an influx and a little bit more of a cushion in that roster so that we're not running out of story options here soon too.
Yeah, because I see that something that we were struggling with last week, because as we were like discussing where can we take the direction of, like, for example, the knockouts division, before everything that happened tonight, I just kept thinking, who's next? Because we've had the people that they had the title shots already. You don't want to repeat that. You want to have somebody new. And it's like they have only resigned Tasha, and but then they just Chelsea Green just left. And then everything happening with Mickie. So she's like somebody that's like in between, I would say. And when it comes to that, they lost Maria as well. Aisha just there, but she's here and there, so she's never something constant in the show either. Giselle has been off TV for like a week or two now as well. And it's like what happened with like Masha and Killer Kelly. So just like they haven't been consistent with them lately. I feel like they could do better with that. So I'm hoping to see the next couple weeks, like now that they have Hard to Kill and they're building it up, that hopefully we see those storylines developing.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump to the next segment because I'm really curious to hear what you felt about this. So we got Trey Miguel in a backstage area cutting kind of a promo, his first real heel promo, trying to get a little bit of heat on himself. Talks about how when he had the title, he became almost a little bit obsessed with it. He got it tattooed on his body, so he had to do anything it took to get the title back again. He took the title belt and actually spray painted TM on his title belt now. I don't know if that's going to be something that sticks around when we see him again or not, but I'm curious where it goes from here. It wasn't a lot, but it was our first glimpse at Trey. So where do you think this landed as far as making that impact?
I feel like it's just a good way to introduce him with the way he's thinking right now. As Barry said, he's spray painting the title. What I thought about with this, I'm hoping they kind of make replicas with the spray paint like that, or even what if they make an action figure with it for how to have the title the way he had it as well. So I think something that you could definitely use for marketing going forward, um, just for his standpoint as a character. And it made me interested to see what happens next with him and who goes against him next, because it's just like it feels like a reintroduction of Trey Miguel, which is what I liked about it.
I'm just going to comment on Barry calling him a rebel. I don't think there's any more room for rebels in Impact. We've already got a redheaded rebel and a heavy metal rebel, so we can't have any more rebels.
There's never enough.
After this, we had our next match, which was Moose versus Bhupinder Gujjar. I thought this was a really solid match. It was kind of short, but I felt like these two matched up really well. Bhupinder Gujjar, he's actually even bigger than I thought he was because he didn't look out of place or small standing next to Moose. And Moose is a big man. It was a really strong effort from him going against against an opponent who's so much higher caliber than him. And I don't really feel like he was exposed in any way or that he looked slow or behind or anything about this match really looked bad. The only thing was the way kind of he lost in the end was a good storytelling element that he needs to adapt and grow and learn, because as good as the gargoyle spear looks, and I really enjoy the look and the appearance when he hits it, Moose had it scouted, and when he turned around and realized Gujjar was in the corner, all he did was just sidestep and Gujjar landed on the ground. That trying to adapt his moveset to find a way to be able to hit that move in the moment in a quick spot without needing to wait for your opponent to turn into it and hope that they don't just step out of the way. It's a good kind of way to see how he adapts going forward.
Yeah, I feel like if you think about it this way, it kind of shows Moose more like a veteran, and him was like the guy that's just learning how to work around with the veteran. So it makes sense with like an ending like that. Yeah, I feel like they had a lot of chemistry, which is something I didn't expect that this was announced. I thought this was gonna be really crappy when I first saw the graphic for it. No offense to them, but yeah, it was better than I thought it was gonna be. I just felt like it was a little bit short. I wish it would have been a little bit longer in the match because I feel like I was enjoying it, and then it just ended. But other than that, I feel like Bhupinder just he showed out, and I feel like it was a good showcasing for him. A good way to highlight him, especially with somebody like Moose. But yeah, I enjoyed him more than anything.
After the match, Moose decides to cut a promo, gets the heat from the crowd that he starts calling out, "I told you all along. I know that Bully is a scumbag. I saw him as a scumbag. You all should recognize that I said it all along, and I don't ever want to hear you say Bully's name around me ever again. I don't want to ever hear you say his name and then say his name and he appears."
I had a feeling you were gonna black out during this moment.
I popped. I did. I mean, as soon as that
Mm,
music strikes, I just go into full blown singing mode and I just clap
yeah.
along and I wave my hands and I just join in on the action. It's so much fun. I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect it. The way he was cutting the
Mhm,
promo, I definitely thought somebody was coming out to interrupt, but I did not expect Joe
mhm.
Hendry. The digital media champion comes out. He and this is where my notes stopped because I was so enthralled. I stopped note taking when Joe Hendry came on my screen, but he basically called out Moose and explained to him that when you said say his name, it means he appears, and when that happens, it means that you believe in Joe Hendry. And this was a fun segment. Joe really owned the microphone there. He's a
Mm.
natural charismatic talent. Um, what did you have for notes here? Help me out, Astrid.
I loved it because like I was saying earlier, like Cody and I messaged each other when we're watching this. So when he said, "Oh, I didn't take any notes," and I was like, "Oh no, this was really bad." Then if he didn't take any notes, like was it that terrible that he didn't know what to say? And then when he just tells me, "No, it was that good," and I was like, I'll watch out for it then, see what happens." But he didn't tell me what it was though. So I was watching it after the Moose promo, and I'm like, "Well, I don't like Moose as it is, so I want to tune him out." And then when he said that line, I was like, "Oh, he said it. He said it. He's coming." And then when the music coming at that moment, and even I like how they show the crowd more than anything. That's my favorite part. You can see them singing, moving their arms, and just enjoying the whole ride. Um, he's the one that called them Kentucky Fried Idiots. I thought it was Bully, but maybe Bully said something different. I don't know. But I like that part of like he was the only person that actually said, like, "Do you guys know who Bully is?" Because I'm the one that said from the beginning that this was gonna happen. Exactly what I said was gonna happen. Which I like to hear because it just gives you that point of like he's the only one that had his eyes open for Bully the whole time compared to everybody else. Even though they knew they couldn't trust him, he's the one that was alert about it. He's like he was gonna screw Josh over like Moose did at Bound for Glory. So it's very similar to him, of like he remembers in that way. Um, and he's like, well, he's the one that technically want to override because of what happened. I like how he just wants to cancel out Bully because of what happened to as well. But I like how he said, "Oh, I don't want to hear Bully's name again," and that's where Joe started talking, and I loved it. He's like, "Well, you called me out," and he's like looking at him like, "I didn't say your name." He's like, "No, you say his name." "Well, I'm here," and like once you say that, you're calling me too. So I liked how that played out during the show when they did that. And the part that like really caught my attention is when he tells him from current champion to former champion, and then Moses looks at him like, "Huh." Like I see where you're going with this. But it's just like when you see Moose doing a promo, you don't expect somebody like Joe to come out and answer him, in a certain matter like this one. And I know that him and Bhupinder were just like hanging around in the ring after Moose left. But it just like it was something I was not expecting at all. I was like, now every time I hear the phrase, I'm gonna watch out for him at this point. But yeah, I love how it played out. It was really well done. I was so happy, and then I that's why I messaged you. I was like, yeah, this was better than I expected it to be honest.
Yeah, no, the part two when they actually started brawling out and Joe got the upper hand, Moose finally knocked him down, and we got the spot of Moose yelling at the crowd again, and Joe Hendry just appearing behind him. And I loved how they played that spot where Moose went running at Joe, and Joe just sidestepped right in time for Gujjar to hit the gargoyle spear on Moose there.
Hmm.
That was really played out. It made me think that Gujjar could be really, really well suited for a tag team right now, to make a run at potentially the tag team titles, because with the right partner in a situation like that, that gargoyle spear would be a perfect setup, or a perfect tag team maneuver that your partner throws a move and he falls right into the gargoyle spear kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I feel like the Digital Media Championship is not where I saw Moose going. It feels wrong
Hmm.
for a guy who was world champion at the start of the year to be digital media champion, or chasing the digital media championship. Um,
Hmm.
but I guess in a situation, it could be a big thing for Joe Hendry to potentially like get a win over a guy the caliber of Moose too, and
Hmm.
really raise the prestige of that championship.
Yeah, it's something that's what I was saying. Like when you think about it, of him answering it, is something I wasn't expecting. But at the same time, not only was it fun, but it also just made me curious of like this is gonna it kind of raises the stakes for the digital media championship, and it gives it like a higher value. If you think about it, somebody like Moose is a former world champion just being in the storyline. So I thought it was interesting, like the direction they went on with this one. So if they decide to go at it hard to kill, I wouldn't mind it this time. I don't clip that just in case. Um, but it just, yeah, it was something that I wasn't expecting. But if it happens, I would not mind seeing it. Um, I wanted to go to Perry's comment is like Bhupinder Gujjar is gonna be Joe Henry's first believer. I think that would be pretty cool though if it did happen like that. What do you think?
Do you think Hendry is going to kind of rally believers like that? Do you think that's where this is going? Um, Tom has been really hinting kind of consistently at it that there's something off, that
Hmm.
the Joe Hendry character just doesn't fit right. And I know I've heard other people saying it too, that he'd potentially fit better as a heel in that role. Do we think that he's gonna rally some believers and maybe eventually turn here? Do we think he's going to turn it all? What are you thinking on that front?
I think about it this way, just like you're introducing him and his character, and even now introducing him as a champion. So it makes sense for you to have him as a babyface because the crowd is already drawn to him. So nobody's gonna want to boo him. So I feel like it makes sense for him to get cheered and to see like we saw tonight those shots of the people, waving their hands in the air and singing the song, just to get people going, make them believe like, oh, I'm a believer. And then when he turns heel, it makes you question like, am I really a believer then? Because of the way he changes his perspective on it. So I think something like that will be interesting to see a little bit later.
Barry's next comment: the
Mm,
believers in Hendry versus the believers in violence. I mean,
mm.
it could potentially be fun. Hendry and a couple followers versus Diener and the Violent by Design. Could be an interesting route to go with it.
Yeah.
We got a short promo from Speedball Mike Bailey, an interview with Gia, just asking about Kenny King's comments. Nothing really stood out here, just Mike saying, regardless, I look at it that if it wasn't for Kenny King, I would be X Division champion. If it wasn't
Mm.
for Kenny King, I would have won the 6-way match at Bound for Glory. And my goals and my attitude on Impact will not change because of Kenny King. Not much there to really dive into. It kind
Mm.
of happened, it advanced the story, but I feel like need a little bit more of flesh on this story before I can really kind of start to get get an opinion and
Mhm.
get some grading on it.
Yeah, it just
We
feels like a continuation to what's happening with the answer, and that was just like it was so simple. I was not expecting it to be that simple, but
Yeah, we got the promo package of Mickie James that I thought was going to be a Mickie James Last Rodeo package initially, and it was interrupted by Deonna on the package, just reiterating what she kind of said at Bound for Glory, setting up the next match. Basically, that it's all about Mickie, that she has to be the center of attention. This Last Rodeo isn't about her retirement; it's about her making everything about her and having to be the star. And Deonna just saying, I'm going to end her career, pretty much, blaming her
Mhm.
for Chelsea leaving. And that was that. It built some hype. It wasn't as good as the Kazarian Josh Alexander hype, but it definitely just felt like it was there to add a little bit of anticipation and excitement for the main event tonight in the event that it could be
Mhm.
Mickie's last match.
Yeah, what I loved about it in this part was Deonna's. She said it's been a while since we heard from like Deonna, just Deonna by myself. So I love her saying that because I feel like it just kind of gives you like even with the match, win or loss, it felt like when she was focusing on herself again and because she was by herself. And I like that because if you think about it this way, she's been with Chelsea now, and I feel like ever since she lost the title, even though you've seen her on a weekly basis somehow, I feel like she is not showcased the same way as she was before. So I'm hoping that even with the loss, we still see her getting built up again to what she was before losing that title and that Deonna that we haven't really seen in a while because she's been stuck in tag teams, whether it was with Giselle or with Chelsea in there. So I'm glad that she's by herself and she can focus on that career by herself. And even just have her do a couple of like matches and start gathering wins just to challenge for that championship sooner or later. But that's what just gave me hope of like we'll get that in Deonna back that we had before.
Yeah. We got next match for the night was Steve Maclin versus Frankie Kazarian. I'm curious to hear from you, Astrid. What caught your eye in this match? What stood out? What did you think of it?
For this one, I don't know why I couldn't, not that I couldn't get into it, but I just like I didn't have of like anything wow that happened that I could say, oh, this is something that I enjoyed or like something that stood out to me. I didn't have anything like that. I just thought it was interesting that we got another DQ finish after having one at the beginning of the show. And the chair shots, they just like the chairs are pretty popular tonight, as we saw in Impact. Um, but I just felt like I'm just waiting for that moment that Steve gets to be in the world title picture, and that's what I keep hoping for when I saw this, especially after going against Cass. But like nothing particularly in the match stood out to me. I just felt like this is like me hoping that just like with Deonna, this is like Steve's way of getting into that title picture, and I'm hoping that's it for him for next year because I really want him to have it. Sorry, Josh. I love Josh, but I really want Steve at this point as well.
I'd actually thought this was a pretty solid match. I thought it was a great match that ended early. They had a lot of back and forth. Macklin kind of dominated a lot of the stretches. Kaz got his offense in as well. I didn't know, like, it didn't feel right for Macklin to lose, but it also didn't really feel like the best option for Kaz to lose either. So the DQ finish makes some sense here. Um, with this match, when Macklin decided to bring the chair shots in and start just, you know, screaming about like, where's my title match, and attacking Kaz
Mm-hmm.
and beating him down. Matt Raywalt made the comment, and I had to grab it and like keep it in mind because I think it was a great comment just that defined tonight as a whole when he said, on a night when point after point has been made, that Steve Macklin has added to that. And even after this match was done later into the night, it did feel like this was the kind of show where people were going around making points, making statements. They had things to say, they had things to do, they were making things happen and building into the next level of the stories. And it all kind of felt like that this was more of the same, that Macklin and Kaz didn't really have a great story build to be in this match in the first place. Macklin just needed this match to make a statement that he can beat another one of
Mm-hmm.
these world title contenders. And ultimately he didn't. He takes the L on the scorecard with the DQ loss. But as Barry states, I think that finish probably shows that Kaz isn't leaving, and this is a match that I could
Mm-hmm.
see coming up January 13th at Hard to Kill as what Macklin is going to do for the time being until he gets into that title picture.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's why and I'm glad also that Cass isn't leaving because he hasn't been used in AEW. So I might as well use him in some place like Impact with like it's gonna elevating the talent there at the moment. And I just feel like it's a good timing for him to be there and show, how much experience he has and how he can still hang out with the younger guys here in the roster. So it makes sense for him to be there right now versus doing nothing in AEW. So happy for him being here right now.
Impact definitely benefits from the veteran presence. I think that was why Bully ended up getting brought back too, why we've started seeing a little bit more of Dreamer on TV, and why they're really leaning really heavily right now on Josh Alexander and Moose. It feels like they're grasping for some of that veteran to help this next crop of Impact originals really make their names and grow in the roster. And somebody like Angels and Khan coming in too are strong veteran people who have been around the industry and been on big shows and big angles and big markets that can bring a little bit of that as well once they start getting on TV a little bit more consistently. Next we got, it was a brief recap just of what happened at the Knockouts tag title match at Overdrive. I guess I said Bound for Glory earlier when I was talking about it, but it was definitely Overdrive, not Bound for Glory. And then we get Tasha and Savannah backstage and talking about the loss. And it seemed like Tasha was basically blaming Savannah, even though Tasha took the pin and took the L, asking Savannah, where were you? Why weren't you there? And Savannah takes offense to this and starts getting a little up, and and Tasha Steelz nominates or voluntells Savannah that you think just because you beat Jessica that you were the one that was the better one in the team. Maybe you should fight Taya next week and we'll see if you can actually beat her because she's the one that beat me or whatever. And it's an interesting way to build this story. I don't know if it's the right time to be splitting these two up. I don't know if Savannah is fully ready to carry a feud in that by herself. I hope this is just something that may strengthen their team for the time being, but it kind of feels like the first cracks that we saw when Fire and Flava, or Flava and Fire, set up or split up last year.
Yeah, that's the same vibes you gave me. Just I kept thinking, oh no, they're gonna break them up. Like, why? They're doing fine right now, so keep them this way. But I kept thinking maybe this is their way of finding, like, this is what we're doing wrong and this is what we need to fix, kind of storyline. So when I saw this, I was a little concerned at first. It's like, no, don't break them up. But it's just one of those things that I guess we'll have to give it time to see what happens next week when Savannah goes against Taya, and just to see how the story develops in there. And see if maybe Tasha, does she save her or does she let her get pinned next week? We'll see. But it's like, I was like, no, I don't know how I like this so far, but I'm just gonna give it time and see what happens rather than just thinking they're gonna break up. Let me just give it a couple weeks to see what happens. But so far, I don't like the way it's starting.
Okay. After this, we got a brief look at what's to come with Violent by Design. They kind of teased it a couple times throughout the early matches, that just a little corner graphic that Diener and Young were going back to where it all began. This was the first we got a quick peek of them in what looked like a prison, with Diener sitting in a prison cell and Eric Young just walking by. And then we got another interview backstage with Gia, this time with Eddie Edwards, talking a little bit about the same stuff he talked about in the last interview, that he doesn't want to take any questions about his family, that this last year has taken a toll on his marriage. He everything he did had a reason. The last year has been all about reasons and making a better place for himself and Impact. Gia asks him about PCO's hand coming out of the dirt, basically making that canon and acknowledging that somebody knows that PCO is still alive and we're not just all still supposed to be under the understanding that he's buried in the desert somewhere. And Eddie just tells her, I'm not talking about the past, only the future.
I went to hit Barry's comment here before talking about that too. He says, makes you wonder if the Impact's tag titles it's going. We have Vex is gone, and it is split, and who's left. And that's something that we were talking about last week as well, because we kept thinking we have the Death Dolls, and who's there left to really challenge them? We don't really have anybody at the moment, unless they just do like a rematch between Tasha and Savannah. But if they do and they lose, then really what's going to happen next after that? That's what we were talking about at the beginning as well. We feel like right now they're lacking a lot of talent. A lot of them have been leaving to WWE. It's been, I think only Tasha has been the only one that has resigned. Everybody else, they're like new signings. But just like little people here and there, but we haven't had anything built up from that. So I've been curious of like what's going to happen soon with people getting signed, because we're losing people, we're not gaining as many. So that goes back to that point. It's like what really happens with the women's tag title. So we'll have to wait and see for a little bit longer before, and then we'll hopefully get that answer. When it comes to the interview, though, I think it was something simple. I thought, finally, somebody acknowledges PCO's hands. We didn't dream this. Okay, good to know. But that's all I thought when this happened. And then we had Delirious just interrupt Eddie's interview. Didn't say anything. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening next. I'm, I'm
Yeah.
like in between about it because we're not going to get much out of them at the moment. So we'll see what happens.
I
But
hadn't even noted down
I'll give it
Delirious
time.
interrupting the interview, so I
Good
remember
to
though,
know.
Delirious, as Eddie went to walk away from Gia, Delirious was standing there. He's like, speaking of things from my past.
Yeah, we'll see. I
It
don't know.
happened.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Going back to Barry's comment, just because you made a point about it there, I just want to kind of put my 2 cents on there that it would be really hard to see the knockout tag titles removed. They were the first kind of women's tag titles in the wrestling industry. The knockouts division has always been Impact's strong suit and one of its key points. We've had multiple matches over the last few weeks where the main event of the show has been the knockouts. We've had first time matches happening all throughout the year. The first the Queen of the Mountain, the first women's Ultimate X. We've had the Texas Death Match between Mickie and Deonna. We've had lots going on with the knockouts, and we're still making them out to be a very, very important part of the show. I just feel like Impact's in this weird spot right now where a lot of their talent are walking away and jumping ship for bigger opportunities, that Impact needs to be almost on the talent hunt looking for people in different places, whether it's different territories and different regional companies, or going to your MLWs and your NWAs and your AEWs and finding the people that maybe aren't getting the time or getting the exposure, depending on whether it's from an up or down that they're bringing in, and just start making some more of those Impact originals to be the face of the company going forward. They've done it so well over the years with the AJ Styles and the Samoa Joes and the Gail Kims and Mickie James, that whether they bring them in from the higher company and make them a big star in their company, or they bring them from out of obscurity like a Speedball Mike Bailey, who was fighting his way around Quebec for all of the last couple of years and then comes in and they're the place that give him a home. People like that are what they need to find and what they should be looking for. And I hope that their management are on the hunt right now to bring in that next crop of big Impact stars.
And now that you mentioned about working with other companies, like, after we had a certain person say certain comments about the women and the women that are not ready to be on TV, why can't that talent just go to Impact and just show them that they can actually show out when it comes to the woman? Because Impact does that very well. So just show them how wrong he was by bringing those women here to Impact and mix them up with the knockouts.
Absolutely.
Magic there.
Absolutely.
I'm saying.
We got a short promo backstage. Heath and Rhino, MCMG come on screen, walk up, basically say, now that you're finished with the major players, I think it's our turn. Heath quickly accepts, says, I'll go talk to Scott D'Amore. We'll make this match happen. And then Rhino, with one of the most frightening promos of the year, steps forward in what was mostly a civil discussion, and Rhino's talking about like ripping their hearts out and like watching them bleed and then shredding their heart to pieces and then splitting their bodies in half and gore, and then he walks away and I'm like, the hell was that, Rhino?
I don't know what happened. I don't know if I want to know what happened. That was so like the timing of it. But I love how this is what the second or third time that Machine Guns go after the champions and just go, we want a title match. And it's like, yeah, we'll go to the office and make it happen. And watch it not make it happen next time again. I'm like, is this a funny joke at this point? Because that's what it feels like.
Maybe Scott's door was locked today because he took his jacket off, or maybe Impact sent him home for calling a talent a POS, or who knows. We'll get next week. We'll get Heath and Rhino showing up at the door just in time to find the major players again or something.
Yeah.
They gave us the rundown for next week. We didn't get much set up or promised as of yet. They confirmed that the Taya Valkyrie versus Savannah Evans match will happen. And they confirmed that next week, Josh Alexander will be in the Impact Zone again to address what has happened. That was it. that's all they said for next week as of this point. We have IPWF Throwback Throwdown 3 happening tomorrow night on Impact Plus, and I believe the Impact YouTube, and possibly also on DAZN. They didn't really confirm that or deny it as of yet. And then we got the main event of the evening, Deonna versus Mickie. Knockouts are your realm of expertise. Give me the rundown, Astrid.
I can tell you that they did not disappoint me at all with this match. I was just watching it like this. I didn't want to blink. I didn't want to miss anything. But it just like it was so hard hitting, and even at the beginning, the way they started, they had such a good back and forth, and like those sequences they had that they didn't stop, and when they did, the crowd was just. I feel like they were astonished at how fast they went and how they didn't stop as they were doing it either. But like Deonna giving her like there was a point she gave her like a good back elbow, and I was like, holy crap, that looked like it hurt. And there was parts here and there though. Like I like how even with Deonna and knowing that this probably wouldn't finish tonight because we're like we said we're expecting it and a bigger showcasing. When Mickie was fading, I was like, oh no, and like the way she was fading, it was so really well done. I kept thinking, oh no, this is it, this is it. But like Deonna, I it made me love her more. Like that back elbow, that form that she gave her, and even the Venus de Milo, the way she just hit it and then she just pulled her back the way she did. I just love the way she sets it up out of nowhere and the way she stretches out people. It just like I feel the pain when I see it, to be honest. But this one, I don't want to say torn, but it just like the way the ending happened with Mickie winning with a roll up. I feel like it was a good way to like tell her, even though you did like the hard work, I still outsmarted you as the veteran in this match, and even like with the person with the experience more than anything. But overall, I love the match. I don't know if you want to talk about that before we talk about what happened afterwards.
We've seen a little bit of a progression through the last rodeo now, I think, especially with some of the more top tier talents, because she finished, I'm pretty sure, Chelsea Green with a roll up as well, if I'm not misremembering that. That like the Taylor Wilds and the Giselle Shaws and some of the newer, smaller names, she finished off with the McDT or like a bigger move. But when it came to Chelsea and Deonna, she really struggled. They controlled the match. They controlled the ring. They really showed why they'd beaten her last year. And then she stole it. And with Chelsea, it was just a straight roll up. And now tonight with Deonna, it was the roll up holding the tights. So it sets up now a really interesting premise for Mickie that is this last rodeo a premise where we could see Mickie maybe taking on a little bit more of a heel turn in her final run here, where she starts doing everything to win because she's not ready to retire yet. That now she's backed herself into the corner with retiring, that she's going to take on a little bit more of that win at all costs mentality to make sure she's not sent packing yet.
Yeah. And this is the part what I told you in the messages. I said, oh my God, the ending. Because when Mickie's celebrating her win, we hear none other than the champion coming out. So we have Jordynne Grace right in front of Mickie and just telling us like, you have taken care of your business. I've taken care of mine. So, you know, why not we just make it happen? You know, me being me and you being Mickie James. So having the Knockouts Championship on the line, Jordynne Grace versus Mickie has been confirmed after the show ended for Hard to Kill. So I'm going to be eating all my nails. So I better keep them long for the moment because I'm going to end up eating them during this match. Yeah, I'm torn about it because I love both the women. I feel like there's good stories from either way when you think about it. You know, having Mickie as Knockouts champion again, the Royal Rumble coming out after that. You never know there's good timing for her to reappear now that Triple H is in charge and coming out as Knockouts champion, not just women's champion. But we also have, like, if you think about it with Jordynne, the way she's going, like beating somebody like Mickie and retiring Mickie James and putting that under her belt on top of the streak with Masha. That's incredible to think about with Jordynne as a champion. So that's why I'm very, very torn about this one. I will not know who to pick until the last moment, so don't ask me yet. I don't know what I'm going to feel during this match. I'm going to feel everything. I may die after this. You may not have a co-host. Just letting you know right now. I'm going to feel all the feels. And the ironic thing is I think this is exactly the pay-per-view before they come to Kissimmee, which I'm hoping to go to. So if that happens, yeah, the timing of it will be incredible for me. But either way, I'm happy the way this happen and on TV. And like we were saying, this is one of those, like, maybe this is the time that everything happens with Mickie because it's a bigger stage than just a regular weekly episode of Impact. But I may die. I'm just letting you know right now. You can just put my rest in peace right here. Okay. Just waiting
It's
for it.
hard to believe that this is a first time ever match.
Mm-hmm.
Given all of the career accomplishments
Mm-hmm.
of both of these women in Impact Wrestling and their histories, it's really hard to believe that this is the first time ever that we will see Jordynne Grace versus Mickie James in a ring. That it's a really, really exciting premise. We're looking at a title versus career match here. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, Astrid, is Hard to Kill the moment that we see Mickie James take that final stride? And you know what, you might be right. With the Royal Rumble coming up, they keep emphasizing it every time she's in the ring, that if she loses, she's retiring from professional wrestling. She's not retiring from sports entertainment, she's retiring from professional wrestling. So do we see Hard to Kill as we're finally killing the hard to kill object? Or do we see her really take on that win at all costs mentality, and she's hard to kill
Mm-hmm.
in that she's going to do whatever it takes? You're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
basically put her down once and for all to actually kill her career.
Well, Mel, I'm gonna try not to die when this happens. I have to meet you before I die, so we'll keep that in mind. But I don't know how to answer that. I really don't. I'm still like, I'm already torn and just see. I was waiting for it to be official, and I know Ella was watching for that too. So when I saw her Twitter, she's like, "It's official. I'm gonna die." And I went to look at their Twitter, and they made the graphic, and I'm just like, I feel like my heart is happy, but I don't know if it's a good happy or a bad happy. Yeah, I'm definitely torn about this one for sure. I don't know who to pick yet, so it just, you can ask me a little bit later, but it's just too fresh in my mind to pick one. Yeah, but it just makes me think like Hard to Kill is the first pay-per-view of the year, and they like Barry saying they have two big title matches happening during that show. No, Ed, I will not calm down. No.
Two big title matches, but it's two title matches that are almost old school versus new school, right? We
Mhm.
have Mickie and Bully, who were kind of the heart of Impact Wrestling in the early 2010s, versus Josh and Jordan, who really are the top of the mountain right now.
Mhm.
So is it
Yeah.
is it a changing of the guard type of pay-per-view, or is this a pay-per-view where we could see the old school get that one up on the new school here? So it's an interesting premise, and it's two really big and really interesting stories to tell. And like I said at the start with the
Mhm.
Bully Josh match, we've got 5 weeks for them to build these stories up and build this anticipation. We've got the rest of the Kentucky taping, and then we've got the Florida taping coming up this month as well. That there's a lot of
Mhm.
TV still to be watched, and a lot of story to be told before we actually get these title matches in a ring.
Yeah, sorry. And for those that didn't see it, I'm just, yeah, I had to say I should calm down. Nikita and Mandy weren't there. I don't care about Nikita and Mandy. No, I really don't. This is Jordan and Mickie James we're talking about.
Ed,
It goes above that.
Nikita and Mandy are here. Jordan and Mickie are here.
The knockouts. No, and this is just like, Mickey's one of those people, like for me. And no, Mel, this is not a preview to our episode that we're doing tomorrow, just in case. Um, but it just, Mickey has been one of those people that one of the stories that I remember watching with her the most is the Piggy James one, and just being like somebody that's Korean plus size. It really stuck to me having that storyline with her of all people, and how incredible she's in the ring and out of the ring as well, because she's a very talented singer as well. And everything she does, I'm like, I love Mickie, and it's like I want her to win. I don't want her to retire, but then Jordy's doing so great. It's like I don't know who to pick right now. And Mel, yes, we said it. We said it right here. Okay, the knockouts were better. I'm saying I'm an NXT person too. You guys know that, but I can say the knockouts are better than the girls in NXT. Sorry, I went there.
The knockout women, it doesn't matter who's in there. The knockouts division is the best women's division in North American wrestling. I can't say in the world because I'm a Stardom guy at heart, but the knockouts division is the best women in North America.
I'm waiting for Ed to reply.
Once we got that handshake confirmation between Mickie and Deonna, I thought the show was over. I was like, there's still 10 minutes until the hour. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, it's only 51. What's coming up next? I'd forgot all about the fact that we talked earlier about Eric Young and Cody Deaner meeting up in a prison cell. Go back and watch it later, Ed. We saw them kind of walking in the prison, and then they're sitting across a table in an interrogation room with each other with a set of handcuffs and a shiv laying on the table, talking about the sickness and Diener when he first joined Violent by Design, and how they purge the sickness. And what is the sickness? Well, it's failure. That to purge the sickness, you have to be willing to kill it entirely and completely by any means necessary at all costs. And EY asks him, if I told you that the sickness was in this room right now, would you do whatever it took to kill it? And they both, like, Diener says yes, and Eric says so would I. And then they both reach for the shiv, and it turns into a scuffle, and then a brawl, and then a fight over the shiv between the two of them. I knocked hard on Eddie Edwards and PCO's cinematic because it was choppy, it felt weak, it felt really, really poorly produced. This cinematic between Eric Young and Cody Deaner was the opposite side of the spectrum. It wasn't as elaborate, it wasn't as fantastical as the Hardy Compound ones had been in the past, but it was still, it achieved what was necessary. It didn't feel wrong. It kind of felt like watching an episode of a scripted TV show, or like, if I was watching an episode of The Walking Dead or something, it felt like I was watching something like that.
Oh my God. That's what I thought too. I kept thinking from the prison, I was like, I feel like I'm watching The Walking Dead all over again.
But it felt like the production quality was the same as that. Like, not necessarily the scriptedness, but just the overall production and how it was filmed, and the angles and the face shots and the expressions and what they were saying to each other. And you end up getting to the point at the end where you have Diener has Eric Young mounted, and EY's there, his face is busted open from the fight, and he says, "Do it, kill the sickness. Like, I was the designer, you're the designed." And it's off screen, but you see Diener take the shiv and stab it down, and then goes back and lays the shiv on the table with kind of blood on his face now. That the premise being Cody Diener just killed Eric Young on TV.
I'm sorry, this really got me. Mary's comment. Dina's lucky he did it on Impact. There's no witness.
I mean, 170 countries can witness it on DAZN as of today.
Is that enough? Really? We're watching a horror movie, X The Walking Dead. That's what happened now. Oh my God. And he could do it on the MLW and have less witness.
You know what?
Oh
you know what we were
God.
watching? We were watching The Walking Violence by the Dead.
God, no. And just like I was telling you, even before the show started, because I'm watching it on YouTube, I don't have commercials. So by the time I'm watching the main event, it's when the girls are starting to come out, it's about 9:30. And I'm thinking, wow, they're giving Deonna and Mickie 30 minutes. That's pretty cool. And then the match ends and there's still time. And I'm thinking, what the heck is next? And even after Jordan came out, Jordan, Mickie, everything was done. I'm like, what the heck am I missing? I couldn't think for the life of me what was missing until I started seeing the scenery, and I'm like, I feel like I'm watching The Walking Dead. Is this okay here? If it was a regular TV, we're like, do I have to change the channel? Did something happen in the stream? And then this happened. It's like, we almost watched the guy getting murdered. I watched it on stream, but you watched it on TV. But either way, we just watched that. And it's the blood and everything. I was like, what? What was this? And it's just like, it left me with so many questions. And then just right when I get on Twitter, while I'm setting everything up, we get none other than news that EY is returning to WWE. So this
Reportedly.
is Impact's, yeah, and this is his way of getting killed off, literally on screen. Rigo gets attacked and EY gets killed. You see the difference in the companies. But it's something that I wasn't expecting. I kept thinking like maybe they were gonna do a revamping to the group, and that's why when Khan and Angels and Deonna were looking at EY and didn't attack him, that's what was happening and during the pay-per-view. So that's what I was expecting. So seeing this, I'm like, is EY getting just a revamp of his character? And then I log on to Twitter, see all the reports, and I was like, amazing. We just lost another person. Just what I was thinking. They need more people. They lost another person that has been a veteran to Impact for so long as well. And I'm torn about it because I love Sanity. I was there for Sanity's debut in NXT, and I love what was happening before the breakup happened. But then I'm like, but then I feel bad for Impact and everything that's happening. So just they're losing so many people. All it feels like almost all at once and not signing enough people. And then that's why I went back to that point at the beginning of the show, because thinking about this at the end, I'm like, what the heck? How did that just happen? Nobody said anything until tonight when he got killed. I was like, nobody's going to mention this to the Impact fans whatsoever until after it happens. Good to know. But yeah, I guess Impact headed to WWE, well, reportedly, so that's why he got killed off literally on screen tonight.
I
Great.
think being a cinematic was the right choice there because
Mm.
obviously the Chelsea news kind of started to leak a little bit before her match with Mickie. Nothing leaked at all as far as I saw with EY until this cinematic aired. And I'm assuming, without having been there in Kentucky, that the cinematic wouldn't have aired in the building to the live audience, that will have been post edit added in after the show was over for the live stream version of it. So it's interesting how that shift happened almost with Impact too, that I feel like they saw what happened with Chelsea and with the news leaking ahead of time, and they saw the news of Gallows and Anderson leaking ahead of time, and so they decided that if we're gonna have somebody else leave, we're gonna control the narrative here. They're gonna control how this
Oh no,
happens.
don't say that.
Nothing's going to leak ahead of when they want it to
Yeah.
leak.
Yeah. It was definitely not the way I thought the show was gonna end. I kept thinking, oh, I'm happy the girls ended the show. We got a hard to kill, match announcement here. Mickie, Jordan, Deonna, all incredible. And then this happened. I'm like, I feel like I was torn because I feel like they should have gone before the girls, but at the same time, you just killed off EY. So kind of might as well have it towards the end because he's leaving too. But I was just like, I'm still shocked at the way it happened, but it did happen. And as Ed is saying, wrestling's such a softball wrestle. No, Eric isn't there, just appears that way.
We didn't
Oh
see the
my
body.
word.
It all happened off screen. I didn't see a body, so he might not be dead. He could come back.
True. I mean, they didn't they send Taya to prison because she killed that one guy. Wasn't that how it happened? I forgot what happened with her before.
This
Yeah, and
was
go to
Impact
Barry's
really back
coffee.
on form, Barry. It
Yeah.
really felt like a top tier
Hmm.
show coming from them, and I think we're in for another good one next week, and probably for the entire month leading into Hard to Kill. I can't see a way that we really bumble through any of this. I mean, we'll probably have a quiet period. I feel like we won't necessarily have a show for Christmas week there, possibly a smaller show for New Year's or the Impact Awards. I know the voting is up right now for the Impact End of the Year Awards for Knockout of the Year and Wrestler of the Year and one to watch for next year and Match of the Year. That we might get a show kind of dedicated to that, or at least a little bit highlighted on one of those shows. But the build coming out of this is something that's really exciting to look forward to, and I Impact this entire year has had the Impact 20 logo up. I'm almost starting to wonder if we should put a decimal point in there and be looking at Impact 2.0, because it feels
Oh
like we're in
no.
that shift
Yeah.
right now where we're moving to a whole brand new crop of stars having to come in and make names for themselves.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, overall, I feel like this was exactly what I needed from Impact tonight. So I'm glad it happened the way it happened. And it was a good build up to Hard to Kill with already two title matches that we have announced and the build up towards them. So I'm excited for it. But like I said, just the only thing that I had in the back of my mind was more talent leaving, not as much talent getting signed, but hopefully they'll work on it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So,
That said, that
good.
was the show for the night. It was a fantastic show. Bounce back on you like I do every week, Astrid. Who's your impact maker?
Well, I will go with the one, Mickie James. I really enjoyed the match, and can I cheat and say Deonna too? Because I really love, well, I love both of them together. Like, I don't care how many times they face each other. It's still, I still glued to whatever device I'm using to watch them, and I don't want to miss them. I don't want to blink, and I love the match, and I feel like I love the storytelling we have between them. So overall, that was my favorite thing tonight. And my favorite segment was the bully promo, not the match, but like the promo itself. And this is the only time I will say that. I'm just letting you know right now. That's it.
I feel like you could guess. Feel like you could guess who my impact maker for the night was.
You want to say his name?
I believe in Joe Hendry. The man came out, he confronted Moose, he held his own on the mic and in the ring with a guy that talent of Moose. He set up what should be a really fun feud going forward with Moose. He's elevating the digital media championship. He's going to be on TV. He's going to be relevant, and he's going to be somebody that matters. And this was the first step of him really taking that leap forward in his career in Impact Wrestling, I believe.
Yeah, totally agree.
For me, you can find me where you can always find me on Twitter at Cody Defoe. Still don't have a hive. Still don't care about the hive. Twitch is the same as the Twitter, but it's still an inactive piece of technology that, follow it ahead of time so you'll know when I actually start using it. I appreciate having, just being on your follow list there, that if and when I decide to actually start streaming some video games, have some people there with me. But that's it for me. You can catch me back here next Thursday. We'll be talking Impact, and we might have a little bit of a rundown of what happens tomorrow night on the IPWF Throwback Throwdown 3. Astrid, where can our friends find you?
You can find me Tuesdays doing Taking Over with Parrish or maybe Ed. That's in the chat. Hopefully I can persuade him to do it. And then back here with you, making an impact. And then we get our replays on Monday on Backbreaker Media. So thank you, Mike, for doing this with us. And then on the weekends, I did my NXT review for Women's Wrestling Talk. Yeah, and then I guess I will say breaking news because we haven't really announced it yet. But Mel and I were going live tomorrow for next episode of Ladies Wrestling Showcase. We're going to talk about that article that came out from a certain website that I will not name, talking about the women and their makeup and their looks. So yeah, we're definitely talking about that. And we're talking about an idea that Mel had about talking about our top 5 influences in wrestling for us personally. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see because we're not really telling each other who we picked. We're just saying it on air and see the surprise right as it happens. So I don't know her picks. She doesn't know mine. So we'll tune in hopefully you agree with some of our choices and what we said it. But yeah, if you want to find out the people that influenced us in wrestling, then tune into that tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be right here on my YouTube and my Twitch as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just shout out as always to our friends in the comments, Barry, Mel, Eric, Ed. Thank you so much for joining us for the show again. Just remember, if you're on Twitter and watching the show, just throw a hashtag making an impact out there. Retweet from us anytime we share the show. Get it out there. Get more people in here. We'd love to have more of a community in here to chat with every week. So tell your friends, tell anyone you know that loves and watches Impact Wrestling to come check us out, and we'd love the support.
Yeah, and I'm here looking over at the people that we could raid, and I found none other than one of your favorite people, Jessica. She's very sick, and her stream must be very sick because there's a lot of people tuned in. So we're gonna raid her in just a few minutes. But yeah, everybody, thank you for stopping by and being in the chat and just seeing our reactions to this show because it's really well done tonight. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and we appreciate the support. Well, have a good night. Bye, Cody.
Bye.
No, I'm kidding.